Positive psychology. This video was made for educational purposes. So what exactly is positive psychology? Let's start off easy. Simply put, positive psychology is the scientific study of what makes life worth living. Since its conception, traditional psychology has focused mainly on pathology, preventing, diagnosing, and treating mental illness. And that's great. However, psychologists like Martin Seligman, who is largely credited with founding positive psychology back in 1998, feel that fostering human flourishing, promoting well-being, and nurturing character strengths is just as important as treating weakness. Instead of only bringing people from -8 to 0, positive psychology studies how to bring people from 0 to +8. It views well-being as more than just the absence of suffering, seeking to improve the lives of regular people all over the world. There are 3 main aspects of positive psychology: positive affect, such as satisfaction, hope, and joy; engagement with life and the fostering of character strengths; and meaning, a purpose in life that reaches beyond the self. Overall, positive psychology is about increasing well-being. So if positive psychology is all about increasing well-being, we have to ask, what exactly well-being is? You may be surprised to learn that positive psychology does not equate happiness with well-being. Happiness, otherwise known as positive emotion or positive affect, is only one factor in well-being. In 2011, Martin Seligman introduced his well-being theory. This theory includes 5 elements that promote and predict well-being: positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement, or PERMA. PERMA is an empirically supported predictor of well-being. Let's look at each of the 5 elements of PERMA, starting with positive emotions. Essentially, positive emotions are good or happy feelings. Martin Seligman calls this element of well-being the smiley face. There are 3 facets of positive emotion: positive feelings about the past, such as pride and satisfaction; positive feelings about the present, often known as happiness, joy, or pleasure; and positive feelings about the future, such as hope or optimism. This part of positive psychology is hedonistic. It's about experiencing pleasure and feeling happy. The next part of Seligman's well-being theory is engagement. Engagement happens when you are so absorbed in what you are doing, whether it be your work or a passion, that you experience a loss of self-consciousness. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, another founding father of positive psychology, created something called flow theory. Flow happens when a person is perfectly challenged, when their skill level is challenged just enough for the task to be doable without becoming boring. During flow, time flies because you become so absorbed in what you're doing that you become unaware of everything else. The next part of Seligman's well-being theory is relationships. Psychologist Christopher Peterson liked to emphasize this part of well-being with the phrase "other people matter." Feeling connected to others is an important element of well-being. Friendship, love, children, and family are all examples of positive relationships, but so is having positive interactions with colleagues or feeling supported by your boss. Positive relationships involve caring for others and being cared about in return, feeling valued by others, having social support, and intimacy. The next part of PERMA is meaning. This, like many other parts of Seligman's well-being theory, is not restricted to PERMA. Meaning has been considered an important part of well-being since positive psychology's conception. Having meaning in life is to feel a part of or to serve something greater than the self. This meaning can be religion, raising children, saving the environment, charity work, relationships, or anything else that gives you a sense of purpose in your life. Finally, achievement is the last part of PERMA. This element involves the desire to achieve something or reach a goal, and most importantly, making progress towards the goal. Okay, now that we understand Seligman's theory about the 5 major elements that predict well-being, let's look at some evidence about PERMA's scientific validity. Because PERMA is such a recent theory, having been proposed in 2011, there has been a big need for actual empirical evidence about its ability to predict well-being in the real world. 2 studies published in 2014 sought to do just that. These 2 studies were conducted by Coffey et al., and they did provide empirical support for Seligman's well-being theory, or PERMA, as a predictor of well-being. One of these studies was conducted solely with college students to provide longitudinal evidence, while the other study sampled a larger portion of the population to provide cross-sectional evidence. The first study used predominantly male college students from one private college, so it is important to keep that in mind when considering the study's results. With this limited population in mind, Coffey et al. Created a second study sampling a larger portion of the population and used a survey to assess well-being in participants. Overall, the studies determined that well-being can reliably be measured by Seligman's PERMA theory. PERMA was found to be associated with better physical health, increased life satisfaction, increased vitality, and even higher GPA in the college students. Another study, this one relating only to the positive emotions aspect of PERMA, was conducted with nuns in the 1930s. Obviously, it wasn't conducted specifically with PERMA in mind, but it does provide some evidence that positive emotions can not only have a significant effect on well-being, but in turn a big impact on the length of your life. In the late 1930s, about 140 nuns in Milwaukee wrote essays about why they wanted to be nuns. These nuns made up a relatively homogeneous group. They all practiced the same religion, lived in the same conditions, and made no money. None of the nuns drank or did drugs, and they all had access to good health care. About half the nuns used positive emotion words in their essays, such as, "I am eager to serve God," while the other half of the nuns used more neutral words about why they wanted to join the convent. 70 years later, 50% of the nuns who used the most positive emotion words were still alive in their 90s, while only 11% of the nuns who used the least positive emotion words in their essays were still alive. Psychologist Christopher Peterson, referring to this study, said, quote, "We put warning labels on cigarette packs. This may be hazardous to your health. We ought to put warning labels on people's faces. Being a grump is hazardous to your life." Finally, let's look at one more important part of positive psychology: character strengths. Character strengths are simply positive traits that are widely valued, such as kindness, and are considered very important in positive psychology because understanding and using your strongest positive traits can improve the quality of your life in several ways. Similar to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, psychologists Martin Seligman and Christopher Peterson introduced a way to measure and classify character strengths. They came up with the Values in Action Inventory of Strengths, which contains 6 core virtues: courage, humanity, wisdom, justice, temperance, and transcendence. These core virtues comprise a total of 24 character strengths. Once you identify your top 5 character strengths, you can use them to find your ideal career or passion. You can apply them in a bad job to make it better, and you can work to strengthen your positive traits to do better in life and feel happier in what you do. For example, evidence has shown that feeling gratitude in our everyday lives can significantly increase happiness. Students who keep gratitude journals sleep more, feel happier, and even improve their grades. Try writing down a few things that you are grateful for every day, and you might start experiencing a deeper appreciation for life. Once you identify your own character strengths, you can use them to improve the quality of your everyday life. You can take the VIA survey for free at www.authentichappiness.org to identify and learn more about your top 5 character strengths. Lastly, it is important to consider that a lot of the evidence supporting positive psychology's findings is very westernized. All the evidence provided in this video came from studies conducted in Western civilizations. If we want positive psychology's findings to be truly universal, more research needs to be done in more places. However, the findings that have been made in this relatively new branch of psychology are still interesting and scientifically validated. And if you look more into it, who knows? Maybe you can improve the quality of your own life.